We're going to now talk about working with colour in CorelDRAW X5 and how the new colour engine works. But to do that, I thought first what we'll do is quickly look at how CorelDRAW X4 and all the previous versions used to work regarding colour. Now here I've got open one of X4's standard Cmyk vector images, and as you can see it's displaying in a very electric way, and that's because I've turned off X4's default colour management. Even the Cmyk palette displays like an RGB palette like the one I have behind in X5. This is how it should look as my Cmyk palette here does. Well, the fact that the image displays like this when colour management is off is really the core of the subject we're going to talk about. Let's come back up to Tools and to Colour Management, and we'll turn back on the default setting optimized for professional output. Click OK. And now the image renders correctly on screen, as does the Cmyk colour palette. But that's where the problem lies. You see, what we've done is we've told CorelDRAW how we want to see this image. But when we save the image and send it to our end user, they don't know what settings we have in CorelDRAW, and that information is not saved with the file. So it may open looking all electric to them, and we don't know that. And that's always been a real problem, that the end user doesn't know how we want the image to look. Well, here in X5, this problem has been completely resolved. Now, when you save a file in CorelDRAW X5, all of the color profile information that's used to render the correct color on screen, that's used by the end printer to know how it should print and look, that is used to create a PDF file or a TIFF file or a JPEG, all of that color information is now saved with the file. And in fact, as you can see, that's the electric look in X4, but when I open this image in X5, it actually rendered perfectly because of the way the new color management system works. So here it is very simply. In X4 and previous versions, no color profile information apart from the actual color values was saved with a file. So end users did not know how a file should look. In X5, all the color profile information is now saved with our files. So the end user knows how it should look. And this is a great big step forward. In X5, color management starts when we create a new document. For example, setting the correct primary color mode is very important. Right now it's set to Cmyk, which most of us will use in the area of professional print, and that will result in a Cmyk palette. If, for example, I'm working on a wide format printer or for the web, I may choose RGB as a primary color mode. Now when I click OK, you'll notice that the color palette now converts to an RGB color palette. And the important thing is this information is embedded in this new document. So when we save it and open again in the future, automatically it will open with the right color palette and so forth. Well, what about how we are seeing our design render on the screen? How do we know someone else will see it the same way? Color settings allows us to embed the appropriate profile. So the RGB profile we're seeing here is the profile used for rendering the information on our computer screen, and it's the same default that's actually used by Windows. Under Cmyk profile, in X4 and earlier, we had a generic option set here, whereas now it's much more specific. In North America, US web coded will be set. If you were in Asia, it may be a Japan coded option, and whatever your country's standard is, that will be automatically set, or you may need to choose one here. But this is also a great place to load a color profile. For example, if you're working on a wide format printer and you have a color profile for that printer, I recommend you load that. So as you create this document, that color profile information will be saved and embedded in this file for all time. And that will help you to basically get the end result right. I want you to note that all of these color profiles settings, the defaults that appear when we create a new document, can actually be changed or altered under color management. And we will discuss rendering intent in a little while. So I'm just going to cancel this, come up to Tools, Color Management, and we'll go to the Default Settings area. Now this section here, default color settings, is very important as the color management policies actually refer to these default settings. So it's important you understand what they actually do. Whatever you set here as a default will appear when you create a new document, but will also affect these management policies. For example, the policy that governs what happens when you open a file. Well, I opened this file originally, and the policy says that for the RGB, the method of rendering on screen, use the embedded color profile. Well, however, there wasn't one, so therefore use the default. Same with the Cmyk, use the embedded color profile. There wasn't one, so it used the default. And that's why this image opened OK and rendered perfectly well, because it used my default color profiles. Well, there are 3 options that you can choose from for each one of these, and I'll discuss the other 2 as we come down here in a moment. But quickly, I want to show you what happens when I turn on the warning options. If I come up to File, down to Open Recent, I'll open the same file up again. A warning dialog box will come up telling me, hey, there's no color profiles. They're missing. What do you want to do? If you want to use the default color settings, just click OK, or you can manually set whatever profiles you want. Import and paste work in exactly the same way as we have just seen, but with one primary difference. You'll notice that the policies are actually referring to the document color profile here, whereas the other 2 options here would be referring to the default color profile. The default color profile is here, however the document color profile could actually be different to the defaults. Now remember, when you create a document from scratch, you can actually choose different color profiles than the defaults. Therefore, these options here really do need to refer to the existing document color profile. Now additionally, I'll just cancel this, we can come to Tools, Color Management and Document Settings, and here we can actually, in the middle of working within our document, still make changes to our color profile. These are our defaults, these are the present set profiles, and we can actually change them. Any change you make is in real time. For example, if I change the primary color mode to RGB, the color palette instantly updates. If, for example, I were to keep the assign option set, choose Japan, newspaper, now watch the image, you'll notice the image grays just a little, and that's because we've got a sign set. Now what a sign does is basically use this color profile to try to render for you the look. It changes a little, but it maintains the actual original color values. However, if we were to choose convert, the document colors will be converted to keep the appearance of the colors, and based on the selected profile, the color values in the file will most likely change. So to follow on, as we've said, if we import an image, the RGB, the screen display, will instantly convert whatever profile is in the image to reflect the existing document color profile, and so on, assign as we just saw before. Well, finally, let's have a quick look at color conversion settings. And first off, you can choose the color engine you want to work with. A lot of people work with the Adobe Color Management module, which is a free download from Adobe if you want. The new default for Corel is the Microsoft ICM that you can see there. And if we select Preserve Pure Black, it basically means if pure black exists within your image, whether that be RGB, CMYK, lab, whatever that is, take that black and rather than it being across all colors, place it on the single plate K, the K plate. And the same with grey. Map that to a K plate rather than it being used across all the colors within the given color range. And finally, setting the spot color definition from one of the 3 options will affect the way a spot color is both displayed on your screen, but more importantly, how that spot color will be converted to a process color, or CMYK. Lab values is the latest set of conversions and is very, very accurate. But if you prefer to work with the RGB or hex values that you may have in your Pantone book or CMYK values, then choose those options. Well, that's it for color management. Make sure you look at the next video.